Welcome to Danger, the channel where we dive into the world's most chilling true crime stories. Please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post something. On the morning of February 22, 2024, what began as a normal run for 22-year-old nursing student Laken Hope Riley ended in a tragedy that shocked the United States. Her murder not only devastated her family and friends, but also became one of the most widely discussed criminal cases of the year because it intersected with the country's ongoing debate over immigration, public safety, and criminal justice. Even after the trial ended, the case continued to influence national politics and legislation. Laken Riley was born on January 10, 2002, in Marietta, Georgia. Friends and family described her as compassionate, hard-working, and deeply committed to becoming a nurse. She initially attended the University of Georgia before transferring to Augusta University to pursue nursing. Although she was enrolled at Augusta University, she continued living and studying on the University of Georgia campus in Athens. Laken was known for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. She enjoyed running and often exercised on the trails surrounding the University of Georgia campus. Those close to her said she was disciplined, kind, and excited about her future in healthcare. On the morning of February 22, Laken texted her mother around 8:55 a.m., saying she was about to go for a run and asking if her mother was available to talk. She called her mother a few minutes later before beginning her workout. Surveillance cameras captured her running through the campus trails at approximately 9:05 a.m. She appeared relaxed and was listening to music while carrying her phone. Only minutes later, something went terribly wrong. Investigators later determined that while jogging through a wooded area near Lake Herrick and Oconee Forest Park, Laken was attacked by a man later identified as Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old Venezuelan national. Prosecutors argued that Ibarra targeted her at random after earlier that morning allegedly attempting to look through the window of a university residence hall. According to prosecutors, the attack was a crime of opportunity and there was no evidence that Laken knew her attacker. During the assault, Laken managed to activate her iPhone's emergency SOS feature, placing a 911 call at approximately 9:11 a.m. However, she was unable to speak to the dispatcher before the call disconnected. The unanswered emergency call later became one of the key pieces of digital evidence presented during the trial. Data from her smartwatch and cell phone helped investigators reconstruct her final movements with remarkable precision. When Laken failed to return, one of her roommates became concerned and contacted university police. Officers began searching the trail system. Later that morning, they discovered her body in a wooded area not far from the running trail. Authorities determined she had died from blunt force trauma and asphyxiation after a violent struggle. The investigation moved quickly. Surveillance footage showed a man matching the suspect's description near the crime scene. Detectives traced him to an apartment complex where he lived with relatives. When questioned, investigators observed fresh scratches on his body that were consistent with someone who had recently been involved in a struggle. Forensic evidence became central to the prosecution's case. DNA recovered from beneath Laken's fingernails matched Jose Ibarra. Investigators also found his fingerprint on Laken's cell phone. Disposable gloves recovered near his apartment contained Laken's DNA, and a blood-stained jacket was also recovered during the investigation. Together with surveillance footage, cell phone data, and witness testimony, prosecutors argued that the evidence overwhelmingly connected Ibarra to the murder. Jose Ibarra was arrested the day after the murder and later indicted on 10 criminal charges, including malice murder, 3 counts of felony murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, aggravated assault with intent to rape, aggravated battery, hindering an emergency telephone call, tampering with evidence, peeping Tom. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. One unusual aspect of the case was Ibarra's decision to waive his constitutional right to a jury trial. Instead of having 12 jurors decide his fate, he chose a bench trial, meaning Superior Court Judge H. Patrick Haggard alone would hear the evidence and deliver the verdict. His attorneys said they believed a judge would be better able to separate emotion from the evidence because of the intense publicity surrounding the case. The trial began in November 2024 and lasted only a few days. Prosecutors presented extensive forensic evidence, surveillance video, digital records from Laken's phone and smartwatch, expert testimony, and witness statements. They argued that Laken fought desperately to defend herself, leaving behind DNA evidence that ultimately helped identify her killer. The defense questioned aspects of the forensic evidence and suggested investigators had not ruled out every possibility, but they did not present an alternative explanation that persuaded the court. On November 20, 2024, Judge Haggard found Jose Ibarra guilty on all 10 counts. During sentencing, the judge imposed life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, ensuring that Ibarra would spend the rest of his life in prison. Following the conviction, Ibarra's legal team sought a new trial, arguing that errors had occurred during the proceedings, including challenges involving evidence. In 2025, a Georgia judge denied that request, allowing the conviction and life sentence to remain in place. His attorneys have continued pursuing the appeals process. The murder quickly became more than a criminal case. It became a major political issue in the United States because Ibarra had entered the country unlawfully before the crime. Politicians from both major parties referenced the case while debating immigration policy, border security, and public safety. Those debates eventually led to the passage of the Laken-Riley Act, federal legislation signed into law in January 2025 that expanded mandatory detention requirements for certain undocumented immigrants accused of specified crimes. Supporters argued the law strengthened public safety, while critics raised concerns about its legal and civil liberties implications. Today, Laken-Riley is remembered not for the political debates that followed her death, but for the life she lived. Friends described her as caring, ambitious, and determined to help others through nursing. Her family has repeatedly emphasized remembering her kindness, faith, and dedication rather than allowing her story to be defined only by the crime. The Laken-Riley case remains one of the most significant criminal cases in recent American history because it combined compelling forensic evidence, a rapid investigation, a high-profile trial, and lasting political consequences. It serves as both the story of a young woman whose life was tragically cut short and a reminder of how a single criminal case can influence public policy far beyond the courtroom. Thank you for watching. If you want more factual and respectful true crime content, please like, subscribe, and share. And as always, stay safe.